Saturday, we're looking at the older males. Still a very wide open division. The best handicap horse in the country, we're not sure who it is. West Coast hasn't run for a while. Accelerate is getting ready for the Pacific Classic. But on the meantime, the Grade 1 Whitney, the $1.25 million Whitney, has drawn a very interesting of older males going 9 furlong Saturday at Saratoga. It looks like New York-breds in Diversify and Mind Your Biscuits will be the two favorites in this year's Whitney.
Yeah, it's an interesting race as the focus at Saratoga shifts from the 3-year-olds to the older male horses. We got a field of 9, all different kinds of horses in here. Grade 1 event, only 3 of the horses entered have Grade 1 victories on their resumes. That's Diversify, of course, who won the Jockey Club Gold Cup last year. Mind Your Biscuits, who is trying to stretch out to 2 turns, who's won at Dubai twice and won the Malibu. And Taprit, the Belmont Stakes winner from last year, is coming back looking for his first victory since the Test of the Champion.
Yeah, Matt, and I think we only have to look at the last race to see why Diversify and Mind Your Biscuits, again, the 2 New York-breds in the field, are the 2 favorites for the Whitney. Diversify was pretty awesome last out in the Suburban. His first race of the year wasn't good in Charlestown. Then the second race of the year, he beat New York-breds in a tougher than you'd expect race, but a decent enough performance. But then he turned it on in the Suburban. Much like the Jockey Club Gold Cup of last year, 1.25 miles, he was basically unbeatable that day in New York. Beat a good field in the Suburban, did it easily. Only 1 race at Saratoga. It was much cheaper competition last summer, but he won for fun that day, so you have to think Diversify like Saratoga. Now, I'm not sure he's going to have things easy, though, on the lead this time around in the Whitney.
Yeah, because, Brian, certainly that's the running style that we've seen from Diversify when he's a winner. And winning is something he does. He's won 9 of 14 career starts in the race. But I don't know, Brian, I like what Chad Summers is doing with Mind Your Biscuits. I like that he's thinking out of the box. I like that he's taking a shot on the biggest stage. And I think, as it turns out, he's found a good spot in which to be doing that. This probably isn't the toughest Whitney field that we've seen in years. There's no gun runner in here. So why not take a shot? Mind Your Biscuits is 5 years old. Trainer Chad Summers has focused this summer on getting him to go a longer distance. He was very encouraged by his near miss in the Met Mile, where Mind Your Biscuits made his usual patented strong late run and just missed at the wire to a very talented B Jersey. I think 1 more jump and Mind Your Biscuits would have won the race. Yes, there was a difference between a 1-turn mile and going 2 turns, but I give Chad Summers credit for taking a shot in the Whitney.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Matt. It's an interesting spot. Mind Your Biscuit could go several different ways as we move closer to the Breeders' Cup, and this Whitney should give us some real information which direction he might head. The Met Mile was a top-notch performance, absolutely. Loved what he did in Dubai before that. That goes without saying. It's interesting. I think Chad Summers might be doing a little horsemanship here before the race, talking about Mind Your Biscuits, perhaps showing some pretty good early speed in the Whitney, and maybe even hanging Diversify, who on the odds board at least will be his main competition in here, out to dry a little bit into that first turn. Then you got Palucci's horse, Dalmore, a talented, used to be a Californian, who has plenty of early speed, and Palucci says Dalmore's going to go out there. So it'll be interesting how the pace scenario develops. I can't imagine Mind Your Biscuits on the lead with Diversify and Dalmore, but maybe for just a little while he tries to hurt Diversify out a little bit into the first turn. Taprit has ability to be close to the lead. We haven't seen the very best from Taprit since his Belmont win over a year ago. Both of his races this year were decent, not great. He's coming off that Suburban where Diversify was much the best. I think we have to talk about Backyard Heaven because he was a heavy favorite to Stephen Foster off his races leading into that. And the Ramsey runner, Chad Brown horse, could be this talented where he could sit in fourth early and win this Whitney. That would not surprise me at all. The Stephen Foster, for whatever reason, he just came up empty as they turned for home after looking to be in great position up until that point. And I was there that night at Churchill Downs, Matt. It was a very hot, humid night. So Backyard Heaven deserves another spot. But all these horses we've been talking about, even Mind Your Biscuits, probably are going to be on or near the lead in the 1.125 Whitney. That could set it up for a closer, man.
Yeah, sure could. We should also talk about Good Samaritan in there from the Bill Mott barn. Good Samaritan won the Jim Dandy last year, so we know that he likes the Saratoga racetrack. McCracken is in there, a name that people know from the Derby Trail a couple years ago, a horse that seems to have a lot of potential but hasn't quite put it together in the big races yet this year. I don't know, Brian. I'm not going to take the favorite in here in Diversify, but I'm going to go with Mind Your Biscuits in the Whitney.
All right, you go Mind Your Biscuits. I think those will be the top two choices, Diversify, Mind Your Biscuits. As I already said, I'm looking for some more odds in here, Matt. My top pick actually will be Good Samaritan. He did not run his race in the Met Mile. In fact, two horses that were well behind Mind Your Biscuits that day were McCracken and Good Samaritan. They've had different paths to the Whitney since. McCracken, people are going to laugh at me, but I thought the Cornhusker was a little bit better than it looked on paper because it was a slow pace and he was wide and he just couldn't run down the horses ahead of him that day. But I expect McCracken to be in with a shot, and he has done well at 9 furlongs before. Look at last year's Haskell, for example. So I think McCracken coming off the pace, but even more so Good Samaritan, who was freshened since his disappointing run at One Turn. He's not really a one-turn horse in my mind. Bill Mott again. Good Samaritan, like you said, he's done well at Saratoga, won the Jim Dandy last year. I just think he's going to get a real good pace scenario. So Good Samaritan will be my top play. One of the horses I bet him with will be McCracken, and both of those horses can rally in a Whitney that I see plenty of speed.
Yeah, and Bill Mott, Good Samaritan's trainer, is having a great Saratoga meeting, and you can never discount Mott getting a horse ready when you least expect it.
Right. I'm not sure he'll be the double digits that he is in the morning line, but Good Samaritan right now, and McCracken for that matter, are both double digits on the morning line. Matt, really nice card as well on Whitney Day. The biggest race besides the Whitney is the Test. Another race, 7 furlongs, a lot of speed in there. All the favorites have speed. I think there could be a bomber in there. My top pick in the Test, I expect to have really nice odds. Kelly's Humor has always been a 7 furlong horse. Trainer Brad Cox has given her plenty of opportunity to run going 2 turns this year, but I think back at 7 furlongs is her game. And with all this speed, look out for Kelly's Humor at really nice odds in the Test. And
for the fans, the racetrack at Saratoga has been playing fairly throughout the meet, even though we've had a lot of rain and wet tracks. Even on those days, if there's a lot of speed in there, you can expect the closers to have a very good chance to win the race.